wonderful to be here in San Francisco in Senator Wiener's district and with an incredible group here today. And let me begin by saying something that I've said many times before, but I think it bears repeating, and that is that I see this job serving as California's Attorney General as being the people's attorney, standing up for those who've been wronged and fighting for and realizing justice for them, for those who've been abused, forgotten, cast aside, mistreated. That's the role of the California Attorney General. And it's my job to represent the interests of all Californians, especially those who continue to be overlooked and unseen, and to represent the complete and fullest diversity of our beautiful state. And as a child of the civil rights movement, the struggle for justice is hardwired into my DNA. It was something that was passed on to me from my incredible parents, who are my biggest inspirations and my biggest supporters. And in California, there are so many who have and continue to fight relentlessly for our civil rights, for people of color, for our LGBTQ community, and for so many others. And it's those forward-leaning California values that have helped make this state a hub for innovation, a bastion of diversity, and the world's 5th largest economy. And it's because of all of our people that we are who we are. Our people are our greatest asset here in the state of California. And it's fundamentally those values that bring us here today and to the task at hand. And pursuant to Assembly Bill 1887, authored by Assemblymember Lowe a number of years back, my office is adding 5 new states to California's state-funded travel restriction list, bringing the total, very sadly, actually this is a large number, to 17. So we're adding 5 new states today. The states are a part of a recent dangerous wave of discriminatory new bills signed into law in states all across the country. As of June, there have been more than 250 anti-LGBTQ bills introduced in state legislatures across the country, at least 95 of them directly targeting transgender Americans. Many of these states are already on California's travel restrictions list, but this new wave of bills directly works to ban transgender youth from playing sports, block access to life-saving care, or otherwise limit the rights of members of the LGBTQ community. Now, today's an important day. It's been 52 years to the day since the Stonewall riots began, but it's abundantly clear that that same fight remains all too alive and well in this country. There is a coordinated attack against our fundamental civil rights. And the fact is, when states discriminate against LGBTQ Americans, California law requires our office to take action, and that's what we're doing today. By law, we must add states that legislate anti-LGBTQ discrimination to the state-funded travel restrictions list. Bottom line, AB 1887 is about aligning our dollars with our values. Aligning our dollars with our values. It's unfortunate that some politicians would rather demonize trans youth than focus on solving real issues like tackling gun violence, beating back this pandemic, and rebuilding our economy. But unfortunately, that's where we are today. Today, as a result of anti-LGBTQ legislation, California is adding the following 5 states to our restrictions list: Arkansas, Florida, Montana, North Dakota, and West Virginia. Of those states, most are being added in part because they are working to prevent transgender women and girls from participating in school sports consistent with their gender identity. It's all part of a movement to limit the rights of LGBTQ Americans. It's a movement that says, never mind that the NCAA has unequivocally asserted its support for transgender student athletes to compete in school sports. Never mind that major corporations from Wells Fargo to Intel all across the country have called on legislators to put a stop to these shameful, discriminatory proposals, and never mind that no less an authority than the highest court in the land, the U.S. Supreme Court, just last year in a 6-3 decision made it crystal clear that gay, lesbian, and transgender employees are protected from discrimination under the Civil Rights Act. Some might not care about these things, but here in California, we do. It's because we value all of our communities that we thrive. And make no mistake, we're in the midst of an unprecedented wave of bigotry and discrimination in this country, and the state of California will have no part of it. That's what AB 1887 is about. Here in California, we take pride in all our people, no matter who they are or who they love. As Pride Month comes to a close, we're going to continue to remember that and continue to celebrate the pride of our LGBTQ community in this state. As the people's attorney, your fights are my fights, and I'll always work to have the backs of the people of California. That means all Californians. With that, let me turn it over to Senator Wiener, who's kind enough to host us in his district today, and we'll hear from all the speakers, and then we can take questions at the end. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Attorney General, and I want to welcome the Attorney General to the great Castro, my neighborhood where I've lived for the last 24 years. I just want to take a moment and really say how thrilled I am that it really warms my heart that Rob Bonta is the Attorney General of California. He's been a friend for almost 20 years since we were baby attorneys together in the San Francisco City Attorney's Office almost 20 years ago. And I've seen him grow over the years as an attorney, then as a city council member, as an assembly member, and now as one of our top state leaders. And I know as a gay man that Rob Bonta, that we could not ask for a stronger ally than Rob Bonta. And I know Assemblymember Lowe will, I think, reiterate this. When we're pushing forward really hard, politically hard, and charged LGBTQ civil rights bills in the legislature, there are certain members of the legislature where you don't really have to explain anything to. They may not be LGBTQ, but they just intuitively get it. And Rob Bonta was one of those people when he was in the Assembly. He just intuitively understands the needs of our community and the needs to fight for our civil rights, even when it's not politically easy. So thank you, Rob, for your incredible leadership. And I have to say, I'm also, even though I'm happy that we're at Pride, and happy Pride, everyone, I'm really sad that we keep having to do this. I had hoped when Assemblymember Lowe passed the legislation that enabled these bans, that we would start to see an end to this kind of atrocious, hateful, spiteful legislation. And unfortunately, not only have we not seen an end, we've seen an acceleration because there are political consultants in the Republican Party on the right who have decided that they think it might be a winning political issue to target trans youth. And when you think about it, what kind of person wakes up in the morning and when they're thinking about, when they're brushing their teeth and figuring out what am I going to do today, say, okay, what am I going to do today? I'm going to target children. I'm going to make it harder for children to play sports. I'm going to make it harder for children to get health care. I'm going to make it harder for children to use the restroom. I'm going to tell children that they're not who they say they are, that they're just faking it to try to get some sort of manipulative advantage. It's outrageous. These are children who are just trying to be who they are and live their lives and do what we all want children to do, just to be happy and to grow and to experience life. And instead, we have elected officials in these various states who are demonizing and targeting these children. And I'm here today, and we're here today, to say that if you're going to come for our kids, you have to come through us first. We are going to stand up for our kids always. And what the Attorney General is announcing today and putting these new states onto this no-fly list is that we mean it when we say it. That doesn't matter if you're a small state. It doesn't matter if you're a big state like Florida. There will be consequences for targeting our community, and particularly our children. So again, to the Attorney General, thank you. And it is now my honor to turn it over to my colleague and the chair of our LGBTQ Legislative Caucus and the author of the enabling legislation to ban travel to these states, our neighbor to the south, the amazing Assemblymember Evan Lowe.
Well, good morning and happy Pride. Thank you very much to our Attorney General for your solidarity. We had the pleasure of serving in the legislature together, and when we passed the bill in the legislature, Attorney General Bonta, you were right there with us in solidarity, and today you're helping to enforce the laws on the books. This is not a pleasurable time to be standing in front of you to talk about the increased travel bans and additions of other states. I have the pleasure of serving as the chair of the California LGBT Legislative Caucus, and as we celebrate Pride, we particularly hear from young people about, well, we've done everything already. We have marriage equality, don't ask, don't tell, adoption rights here in the state of California. And just yet, in neighboring states, just not too far away, you have seen specific anti-trans legislation harming and attacking the most vulnerable, the most beautiful in our communities. And that's what this conversation is about, to stand in solidarity with so many others who are being targeted for no reason other than political shots. Not allowing kids to be kids. And that's what this conversation is about. And by the way, this isn't just about California values as government. We've seen, especially when we first introduced the travel ban, that a number of other companies here in the Bay Area, Salesforce, Apple, Facebook, household brand names that joined in these conversations to say, we will not expand, we will withdraw our conferences. And we've seen swift action from that regard. For some context to the legislation introduced in 2016, Mike Pence, then governor of Indiana, just signed the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, which gave exemptions to individuals to discriminate based on religious reasons. And it was important for our state to send a strong message that we will not endorse any type of discrimination of any kind, whether it be based on sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression. But we also wanted to send a clear message to all California workers as well, teachers and students alike, that we will never, never put them in harm's way by requiring them to travel to some of these states to which they could be subjected to this type of discrimination. Sadly, since the introduction of Assembly Bill 1888, in which it became law in the state of California, we've unfortunately seen the increase in anti-trans legislation and anti-LGBTQ legislation. The current culture war is not a game. This fight in which our opponents are motivated by fear and hate, even though our LGBT community has always been about love and inclusion. Today, of course, marks the 52nd anniversary of the Stonewall riots, and we would like to talk about why our state celebrates Pride each month. It's about our collective history, a liberation movement that now spans the globe and is taking action to make sure all people are included for full equality. Pride is a moment to remember and celebrate, but we must not let up. And again, as we celebrate Pride and the beauty that surrounds itself during this celebration, let us not forget that there are individuals in our community who are also hurting. And we must hold elected officials accountable and making it very clear that we will not stand for any form of discrimination. We will not go back to the closet, and we will not stay silent. And California will never reward bad actors in bad faith. So again, thank you very much, Attorney General Bonta, for your solidarity and for all who help ensure that we will stand firm for true equality. Next up, I'd like to introduce beautiful Rylan Whittington, an 8th grader from San Diego. Welcome.
My name is Rylan Whittington. I'm 13 years old and I live in San Diego. I get good grades in accelerated classes. I'm vice president of my middle school. I play ice hockey and I'm missing my water polo practice to be here today. I'm a typical teenager. I like to hang out with my friends, give my sister a hard time, surf at the beach, skateboard, and make funny videos. Being trans is just a small part of who I am. It doesn't stop me from being a strong teammate or a good friend. Thankfully, I've never been told I can't play on a sports team, and I've never been denied medical care for who I am. I know that I am lucky to live in California. I'm lucky to have leaders like Assemblymember Lowe, Attorney General Bonta, and Senator Wiener, who are willing to stand up for me. I'm lucky to have my friends and my family who support me. To all the leaders who are attacking trans kids like me around the country, we just want the same rights as everyone else. Please give all kids the opportunity to be happy, healthy, and live their lives as freedom and peace, with freedom and peace. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rylan, for sharing your story. My name is Tony Huang, and I'm proud to be the next Executive Director of Equality California, the nation's largest statewide LGBTQ+ civil rights organization. Equality California also proudly co-sponsored, alongside Assemblymember Lowe, the bill that now helps protect California taxpayers' hard-earned money from subsidizing discrimination against LGBTQ+ people elsewhere in the United States. More than that, this law protects LGBTQ+ students like Rylan and state employees from being sent to states where they themselves might be subject to discrimination. And it sends a message to state legislatures across the country who attack kids like my friend Rylan that California, the world's 5th largest economy and the nation's most populous state, has Rylan's back and the back of every trans kid across the country. Let me be crystal clear. Equality California is committed to creating a world that is healthy, just, and fully equal. So on the 52nd anniversary of Stonewall, I want to thank Attorney General Bonta, Assemblymember Lowe, Senator Wiener, and Rylan and Hillary for their fight for full lived equality. And we will continue to stand with you in that fight until the work is done. Thank you.
Thank you to Senator Wiener, Assemblymember Lowe, to Rylan, and to Executive Director Designate Wang.